Of course he peeks right then. I knew it. He's so lucky, it's infuriating. They're just holding W, it's stupid. Oh, it's not fair. Oh my god, I can't believe
Shouldn't be making these kinds of stupid
not even playing Counter all the work I've done out. It's like I'm back to
I should be able to outplay someone
letting
in
me run
level.
I don't know what's going on. I hate this game. Hey guys, Zotek here. Today, I'm going to do my best to answer one of the most common questions I see. How can I improve my mental game? Sometimes this is in the context of managing tilt, sometimes for building confidence, sometimes simply for staying focused and motivated. In this video, I will attempt to provide you with the tools and concepts that I have used in developing my own mental game in a variety of domains. I should preface this by saying I am not a sports psychologist. I am a competitor. So everything I say will be taken from my own experiences and research. A list of books and recommended resources will be in the description below and at the end of this video. This will be broken into 3 parts. First, in part 1, how to assess your mental game. Second, in part 2, judgments, flow, and expectations. Finally, in part 3, improving your mental game. Part 1. Assessing your mental game. The first step when working in any domain is to define it. And it's important to realize that your mental game is not one thing. In reality, it is a vast collection of mental skills. How well do you handle people disrespecting you? How long can you focus? Can you block out distractions? If you lose 3 rounds in a row, do you pause to think about what's going wrong? Or do you rush back into things without assessing? Some mental skills you've already practiced, often without thinking about it. If you can laugh off a horrible loss without letting it get you down for the day, then you're probably already great at letting things go. If you sit down and practice every single day, then you're probably pretty good at staying disciplined. The key to improving your mental game is to identify those skills you have not already attained. Keep in mind, like building up any skill set, it takes hard work to improve your mental game. However, for many people, even a little bit of work will make a vast difference. This is largely due to the mental game being so often overlooked. One of the easiest ways to get started with this is to think out loud when you find yourself getting frustrated or see a weakness in your mental game. You should try your hardest to put your thoughts into words. This is a skill too, so don't get discouraged if this is hard the first few times. This can take many shapes. A few of the more common things you might say are, "They're just holding W, it's incredibly frustrating. Dude, I'm just gonna run out and try to one-tap this guy. I'm sick of him winning the fight. Wow, he just wide swings me? I mean, if I hold the angle, he's dead, okay." Once you've put your feelings into words, it's important to dive down into the root causes for these emotions. Each of these root causes can be indicative of a different mental skill that you need to work on. Let's look at the first one we mentioned. "They're just holding W, it's incredibly frustrating." This may be frustrating because you can't stop them, or because it feels disrespectful, or maybe another reason entirely. Whatever the case, it's important to stop and look at which underlying mental skills you need to strengthen to avoid being frustrated, tilted, or feeling whatever negative emotions you are. The further down you dive, the more beneficial this analysis will be. Let's say your tilt primarily stems from feeling disrespected by them holding W. This could be due to you investing too much into their opinion of you, basing your confidence in the opinion of others. In reality, your confidence should come from your own objective assessment of your play. Or it could be an underlying control issue. You can't control what anyone thinks of you. The best players in the world have people who think they suck, and the worst professional teams have die-hard fans. Or maybe you have history with the player or team. They're an old rival or a person you dislike. But instead of using this as fuel to play better and motivation to stay calm and focused, you let them win even further by losing your composure. The point is to dive down as deeply into each item as you can, and to try to identify the root cause of the tilt or mental game issue. Then you can work to improve the relevant skills. Let's look at a few of the more common issues that I see and some signs you may need to work on them specifically. I just can't DM for more than a few minutes without getting bored or tilted. I just start messing around or get mad. I get way more benefit from playing matchmaking or pugging than I do death matching. It just works for me. I always autopilot. I don't know how to stop. I feel like I've hit a brick wall and I can't get over it. I feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like I suck right now. This player shouldn't be beating me. My recoil control is actually really good. It's just my aim that needs a little bit of work. I outplay people so easily. I just whiff the shot. I'll play one more pug. I'll deathmatch tomorrow. I've practiced enough for today. I've won a few. I don't really want to play again and end on a loss. The number of mental skills that influence competition are vast, and many of these underlying skills are interrelated. Having low confidence will obviously decrease your motivation, and being overconfident will make it harder to focus. This is why it's important to get as deep into your thought processes as possible and identify which mental skills need your attention. Part 2. Judgments, Flow, and Expectations. Self-reflection is critical to improvement. Yet, so few people stop to ask, what type of self-reflection? And many people miss the point that it is not simply judgmental commentary that is necessary, but truly objective analysis. Seek to reduce the number of judgments about your gameplay, and instead reflect on the objective actions and results, nothing more. But wait, Zotek, that doesn't make any sense, says little Timmy, Golden Nova 3 with dreams of playing FPL. How can I reflect and correct mistakes without judging my gameplay? The short answer is, you look at it objectively. Let's dive into an example. Someone peeks you and you flick to their head with all the speed of a pouncing cheetah. Except your crosshair goes too far to the left. You miss completely, and then die in game. Sorry guys, I whiffed. I whiffed implies that you failed. That's a judgment. Instead, switch your perspective to, my crosshair was to the left of the person when I shot. This switch seems so simple that it almost would be expected to be innocuous, yet it has a profound impact when applied to your entire gameplay. You don't even need to correct your mistakes with, oh, I need to move my crosshair further down, up, left, whatever. These two are judgments of your performance as inadequate. When you objectively analyze your play and work to suppress these judgments, your brain will automatically begin making the correct changes to your technique. While you are practicing, you should keep in the back of your mind the area of practice you are working on for the day. Then, dispassionately and objectively observe what you are doing. Instead of, I keep screwing up my strafe stopping, pay attention to whether or not you are shooting before your character is fully stopped. Instead of saying, man, I suck at controlling the AK recoil, pay attention exactly to where your bullets are going. Or instead of thinking, I always panic whenever someone peeks me, pay very close attention to specifically how you are reacting. Why does this work? The short answer is, the reason isn't 100% clear. The long answer is still being debated by psychologists, but probably has something to do with the modular model of the mind and your limbic system's response to failure. Judgments aren't always negative, though. Sometimes they can be positive. Even these should be avoided. Saying things like, wow, you are playing really well right now, to yourself, is really subtly saying something else. It's saying, you normally don't do this well. Think about the time you were playing at your absolute best. You were on fire, hitting every shot, making perfect decisions, in a state of what many people call flow. However, when you stopped to think about how good you were playing, it went away. So stop and really think back to that time you were in this full state of flow. You weren't thinking about how good or bad qualitatively you were doing. Rather, you were likely dispassionately observing everything that was happening. The situation wasn't bad or good, it simply flowed. You weren't worried about how well you were doing, you were focused on what you were doing. Now, there are a ton of resources on ways to trigger this flow state. Personally, I think they're mostly nonsense, but removing judgments from your play is certainly a key to getting and staying in a state of flow more often. And with that, we turn to expectations. Expectations are the evil twin of judgments. While judgments can cause frustration, slow improvement, and kick you out of your flow state, expectations can outright devastate your mentality. Expectations are often rooted in the fundamental desire for control innate to most people. We want food, water, and safety. When we do not control one or all of these factors, we can't survive, and so this desire for control is ingrained into our DNA. However, reality often conflicts with this deep desire for control. In reality, we control virtually nothing about our lives in the absolute. All we can do is, through our actions, make certain outcomes more or less likely. You can do everything perfectly in life, study hard, have a genius-level intellect, and be incredibly charismatic. Yet, you can get struck by lightning the day you walk out of your front door, and it was all for nothing. Expectations ignore this reality. We expect to improve quickly. We expect to beat lower-ranked opponents. We expect that if we play well, we will win. And when reality inevitably, and it is inevitable, fails to follow our expectations are shattered. And in our desperation for control, we lose it. To identify expectations, look for words like need or should in your thought processes, and identify whether the reasons for those statements are true. There are no easy ways to remove these from your mental thoughts. Buddhist monks meditate for years and fail to achieve enlightenment, of which removing expectations is a large part. And after all, some expectations are reasonable. However, it is important to internalize and accept an inherent truth. Nothing is guaranteed. Some things fail, even when they are 99.9% likely to succeed. We can only influence whether or not something is more or less likely to occur. Never guarantee it. Strive to make that your only expectation, and your mental game will flourish. Part 3. Improving your mental game. So, you're striving to remove judgments and expectations from your thought process, and you've identified a few mental skills you want to work on. What next? You can practice your mental skills just like any others. Identify which skills you need to strengthen, and for most people there are a lot, and systematically work to improve them. Team Liquid's sports psychologist Jared Tendler is fond of using a logical flaw framework. In his framework, he views most mental skills as corrections in flawed logic. To provide a few examples, I hate this game. It's so random. By playing the game, you accept the inherent random elements within it. So, if you continue to play, randomness will continue to happen. Being upset about this is being illogical. It's the equivalent of driving your car than being upset that it's ran out of fuel. So the mental logic in this instance could be understanding that variance is a part of the game and internalizing the logical consequences of that variance.
I shouldn't be making these kinds of stupid mistakes still.
Obviously, this simply isn't a logical statement. If it were, you wouldn't still be making those mistakes. The mental flaw in this logic is potentially twofold. First, you always expect to be able to do something forever after you've learned it once. This simply isn't how learning works. Can you imagine if a surgeon only took one class and then was allowed to go out into the world? Instead, they spend years training before they're ever allowed to operate. And secondly, the second flaw in the logic is that you're viewing mistakes as negatives rather than positives. If you never made mistakes, you could not possibly improve. In reality, mistakes are incredible opportunities to learn and grow. Imagine if, after 10,000 mistakes, you were guaranteed to become a professional player. You would be ecstatic with each one. This could also tie into another confidence issue, but that only shows how deep down you have to dive to really address your problems. Replacing flawed logic in Tendler's framework is the key to fixing mental game mistakes. I personally find this to be the most beneficial for me. Another approach relies on visualization, journaling, and imagining hypothetical scenarios. you can imagine yourself in a scenario that previously exposed a mental game weakness, such as a time when you got angry and quit midway through a practice, or a time you lost focus, or even a time you weren't motivated to play. And if you can imagine yourself exhibiting the skills you want to develop, then those skills will start to grow. Our brains have a hard time telling the difference between reality and imagination. So this can be a great technique to quickly build up mental toughness without playing for hundreds of hours. And that's it. That's my overview on how to improve your mental game. I've been getting this question a lot over the years and especially lately, so I hope it helps. On your screen, you're going to see a few resources, books, and articles that have helped me put this video together and develop my own opinion of the mental game over the years. None of this is sponsored, but I highly recommend if you want to learn more about these topics, you check them out. I'll have links in the description below as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be putting out videos every day and streaming over on twitch.tv/x0tek. Look forward to seeing your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for all the support, and as always, until next time, peace.